Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the LIV'N podcast. And we have a very special guest today. We are here with the lovely Skyler Madison.
Hey guys.
She is one of the top, if not the top model in Denver. She's been featured in Denver Fashion Week. She's done New York Fashion Week. She's worked with countless brands, designers, been in magazines, the whole shebang. So it is an honor for you to be here today. So thanks for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just staying busy. How's the new year treating you?
Yeah, it's been good. We're off to a good start. So
Good.
yeah, I can't complain. So for you, you were just featured in Denver Fashion Week as,
Yes.
one of the main focuses and kind of like the cover girl, if you will, along with other people as well.
Mhm.
So what was that whole experience like for you? And what'd you take away from that?
Well, it was super fun. It was kind of like sporadic, to be honest. And, I had a couple of designers and our director, Nikki Strickler, she essentially like hit me up last minute and was like, "Hey, Skylar, if you're in town, like, would you be available to do our cover shoot for us?" And of course, when you get that news very sporadically, you're super excited. You don't know what to do with yourself,
Right.
and you feel really honored. But for me, there's like a sense of humility of like, wow, obviously I'm doing something right. I've only done at that point like 2 seasons of Denver Fashion Week, and
Wow.
for me to kind of be the face of it was super exciting, but also like, man, if I can do this just after like 2 seasons, I must be doing something right and connecting with the right people and being authentically myself in a way that other people appreciate that can show through a magazine or a video or represent Denver, my city.
Right.
So
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, you looked freaking amazing. You look flawless and
thank
beautiful
you.
and gorgeous as usual. So over the past few years of you doing Fashion Week, how has it kind of changed and evolved from your POV to what it is now, and where can it go even further from here?
Well, I'll definitely say Denver Fashion Week is very different. It puts itself in its own category than other fashion weeks like LA Fashion Week or,
Right.
New York Fashion Week,
Yeah.
which I believe is so beautiful because it focuses and exemplifies and really takes attention towards small creators and small designers, and not even small designers, small, big, but people who are local, and bring attention to them and their art and what separates them from others. Where I think other other fashion weeks really focus on big brands, and it makes it hard for other people who are new to the industry or have been in it to kind of have a spotlight. And that's what's I've seen evolve, change with Denver Fashion Week and even fashion weeks in general, is we get to focus on the art collective and the uniqueness of people in our community.
Right. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, native. Shout
Yeah.
out.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Aurora
Yeah.
303.
Yes. So with you being from here, I guess kind of how your journey started. How did you originally even get into like wanting to be in kind of fashion and modeling, and kind of where did your journey start?
So my mom has done modeling since she was 17. She would do it for brands like Maybelline, and
Oh, wow.
she came out from the Bronx. So
Okay.
she was one of those small town girls that was in Florida and New York and was paying off school and using modeling as kind of that side hustle.
Right.
But she put me and my sister into it when we were younger. Granted, we had to have good grades in school.
Hey.
School was always
Yes.
first.
Shout out, mom.
Yeah, so it was a luxury to kind of get into modeling, but we I started when I was 13, didn't get seriously into it until after high school, and then eventually I was an athlete my whole life. So soccer was always the
Yep.
main priority. That's what took care of school.
Right.
But as soon as like that was kind of taken away and like my career was like deflected and went down a different path,
Uh-huh.
modeling is something I like used. I was like, let me use my uniqueness and see if I can kind of do something with it.
Right.
And that's when I jumped into modeling. I got into an agency connected in here in Denver, started reaching out to other agencies, and granted, you don't know how much to pour into your future until you take the steps yourself.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So is that what you meant by like I started taking it seriously? Is that like putting yourself out there more,
Yeah.
going to these agencies, booking things?
Yeah. Like you don't know how much your value is worth until you put the amount of effort into yourself to get there and taking the steps that are laid out in front of you. And when one door closes, another one opens, and you just have to be ready for that moment,
Right.
to take those steps for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. And so being in this world, in this industry, and with models, there's a lot of people out there can look at models and be like, oh, well, she's just a pretty face, or
Hmm.
she's just this or that. There's just stigmas, if you will.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about models in the industry that you've experienced?
I think a lot of misconceptions is, well, there's multiple, and there's some, like, forgive me if I don't like touch base on too many of them, is you have to be a certain height, you have to look a certain way, and you have to hit this appeal of a certain like misrepresentation of beauty. And I think that can mean so many things nowadays. The industry is always changing. Designers and agencies are always looking for something unique.
Right.
And so nowadays it's like you can get hired with tattoos. You can have art expressing yourself. You can not have hair. You can have no makeup. You could have a natural look. Like you could be an alternative model. You can, you know, many different sexualities, races, genders aren't being pushed aside anymore. Like there's more opportunity for that.
Right.
And again, like you don't, granted, it depends on who's hiring,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
which I think is a misrepresentation of like you have to have this certain look. Don't compare yourself to others because again, the industry is always changing, and as soon as you start comparing yourself to others, you'll miss out on those opportunities to kind of separate yourself and start a new trend, start a new look.
Right.
People are always looking for a confidence, and that's all you gotta have.
Yeah, definitely. And we are in very diverse times, which is really great.
Yeah.
Just as the world has evolved. But when you kind of first started, was it kind of more stigmatized around like the physical appearance and the height and the non-tattoos and
Yeah,
sexuality and stuff like that?
absolutely. When I first started modeling, my agent a long time ago, I'm not gonna like say
Yeah,
anybody
yeah, you're
specifically,
good.
but my agent, when I was playing soccer, she was like saying I was a certain size demographic, and with that, it was very difficult for me to book gigs because, again, I was either too big or too small, and a lot of times people will be like, "What? That's crazy!" Like they're
Right,
saying like either you look like a plus size model or you're too skinny, and again, it depends on the client and what they're looking for.
right,
But it's definitely something that is hard to hear as an individual in your own uniqueness and someone who's willing to put yourself out there. And it's again changing, and it's one of those things that you can't compare to
yeah,
other people and get discouraged by, because as soon as you're discouraged, it's just noise.
right,
You know, you have to have a confidence in yourself to pick yourself up every day and be like, no, I know who I am. I know the heart I have, but you gotta have thick skin but a soft heart in this industry.
all right. Thanks, getting a soft heart like that.
Yeah,
So is that? I mean, I would say easier said than done in
of
general.
course.
You know, but so in those moments when you were too big or too strong or whatever they were saying about you, like how would you internalize that and like how would you kind of like move differently after like hearing things like that?
Yeah, I, of course, as you said, it's easier said than done. I beat myself up every single day.
Right.
I started doing the negative thing, looking at myself in the mirror and like saying I'm not enough, or trying to convince myself and be like, oh, I'm an athletic girl and I have these huge quads, but modeling requires me to be a lot smaller, and
Right.
now I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm not beautiful anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking away from what God blessed me with, essentially, in my uniqueness, and putting my purpose into what other people are saying when it's ever so changing.
Yeah.
And so you got to look at yourself and be like, Well, look at all the models that are in the industry now. Like, I can change it. Maybe this location isn't for me anymore. Like, let me get out there,
Right.
see who is looking for, an athletic build. And granted, again, I had a career that deterred, but sometimes you gotta take your crown off and put on an apron, push away that pride and put on that humility, like armor, and realize, like, I'm different and that's okay. And maybe other people feel the exact same way and are going through the exact same thing. But again, you can't, it's just noise,
Yeah,
you know?
I got you. So have you been in situations like behind the scenes where maybe somebody's saying something negative about maybe another model or somebody else,
Hmm.
and you got to kind of like be there to like reassure them or uplift them, or have you been in any those type of situations?
Absolutely. And I think that kind of falls into the stigma of modeling or even just this industry is you hear a lot of comments every single day. And again, that noise, it's so negative majority of the time.
Right.
And I think we live in a world where good is perceived as evil and evil is perceived as good.
Yeah.
And you got to pray for that discernment of, like, okay, people will have the eyes to see but not the ears to hear,
Yeah.
and will sit back and let it happen because it's not happening to them until it happens to them,
Right.
And personally, I will never stand for it. I, as someone who has been told those comments and as someone who has witnessed it, granted, if somebody takes away that opportunity because you're standing up for somebody else, or
Right.
because you're standing up for a brand that is, or a designer that is bringing attention to something good
Right.
and going to help people, like, maybe that opportunity isn't for you.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to kind of sit by and let other people get beat down, you're not gonna gain a success by seeing other people's downfall.
Right.
And if you do live by that, granted, it's different for everybody. I'm not gonna beat on it. I personally just don't stand for it. It's not the environment I'm meant to be in.
Right.
If people are, beating down other people,
Yeah.
or saying they're not going to make it, or limiting their success and their purpose and their drive and what they work for every single day. Like, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and it's your job in that environment and to recognize, like, how can I make them feel more comfortable
Right.
in this industry? And that's what I've loved about working with Denver Fashion Week. Granted, other fashion weeks too,
Right. Yes.
but I've noticed more of a positive environment in Denver Fashion Week, because everybody's so uplifting to each other.
Right.
Everybody's inspiring each other. Everyone's like, hey, my top isn't like fitting me the right way. Can you help me? Or
Yeah.
I don't have like this makeup, or maybe this makeup kind of, is splashing me out or making me look too cakey. Like, I don't feel confident.
Right.
There's always another model to be like, babe, come here.
Yeah.
Let me get you right. Like, let's
Right.
fix this up, or let me help you, because you help me, I help you. It's a collective that works together, and that's the world we should live in every day. And I'm just grateful Denver Fashion Week has kind of offered that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been, behind the scenes and, seen the chaos that goes on
Oh
behind
yeah.
there and whatnot. But there's a particular moment that I had with you that I was like, this girl is really special. So it was after you were done walking for the night, and, we're off to the side just watching, the other girls and other people, walk. And we were mid-conversation, and then you're like, woo, go. And I can't remember the girl's name, but you're cheering her on, and you're like, you got it, you got it. And then you're like, yeah, she's been working on this walk back there, and she just killed it. And like, so like just seeing you so supportive in such just a simple manner, and just, rooting on your people is a very beautiful thing. So
Oh yeah. It's always either somebody's first time or someone's done it like a bunch of times. But the more advice you can help somebody, it's not to judge, it's to correct.
Right.
It's not to condemn, but convict. Like, stir in their spirit, stir in their heart. Like, hey, you can be elevated
Right.
if you take the advice. Like, be wise and take the advice.
Exactly.
Rather than beat down and be like, oh, this other model's comparing herself to me.
Right.
Like, no, you see the growth with other girls, other men, like other people. Like, it's beautiful. And when you see them correcting that thing, you have this confidence in yourself, but you have this confidence in them. Like, nice, we can get to a place where
Right.
they feel they are meant to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, and for those who watching, like that shit ain't easy.
It's
Like
not.
it's people just think it's walking down. Nope, it's so much more than that.
Oh yeah.
And until you do it yourself, like you have no idea.
I blacked out the first couple times. Like when I first started Denver Fashion Week, I
Yeah.
was getting up there. I walked, came back, and I was like, bro, what did I do? I just saw lights and heard music, and I
Yeah.
wasn't even there for a couple of minutes. Like throw up a prayer,
Yeah.
like God, like I don't want to fall.
Right.
Please don't make me fall.
Those lights are bright. You can't see anything.
No,
Like
yeah.
around, you're just like here and just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like Jesus is right in front of you. It's just like,
You really just like stiffen up and you lose yourself, and you're just praying at least your face doesn't like fall, or you make a weird face, or
Right.
you're looking at a camera. Like it's a very difficult position to be in, not only in runway but in modeling in this industry in general.
Yeah.
Because you're like, again, comparing yourself to meeting expectations of others.
Yeah.
And you lose yourself in it. And you can be a character. You can, and that's kind of what I tell other
Yeah.
models back there before going out and they're nervous. I'm like, imagine you are the character that you're in your outfit. Look at yourself. Who are you going to be? Be that person when you go down there. If it's yourself, if it's like an animated version of yourself, if it's a confidence, if you see it, you believe it, you'll be it.
Hell yeah. Exactly. You are the main character for that moment. Everybody's looking at you,
Yeah.
and it's dope. Like it's cool. So in the runway scene, fashion, photo shoots, you know, people they see you walking down. You're not talking. They see pictures of you. You know,
Yeah.
they know nothing about you. But just through your work and how you portray yourself going down the runway, how you portray yourself in photo shoots, how do you want people to basically see you and as you, like through your craft, and you know, without even saying anything, they just see images of you. So how do you want to come off, and how do you try to come off when you do your walks and you do your shoots?
Personally, I want to be like seen as like a God-fearing woman, you know? And when you're that type of person, there's a light that shines from you, whether you're God-fearing, whether you manifest an identity, whether you believe who you are. I want people to see a light through that picture, through that quick interaction.
Right.
That like, hey, there's something deeper going on there, or there's a kind heart behind those eyes. Because my mom, one piece of advice she always told me was like, your eyes are the key to your soul, but also you can do so much with just your eyes.
Right.
You know, you can say 100 words with different expressions with your eyes. And if it's like confidence, you know, you kind of have like a cat eye or a little like closed eye, or if it's like big and open, it's like open and inviting. But if you're very like serious, a lot can be portrayed through your eyes. And even our stories can be portrayed through our eyes. And, you know, I have a bunch of trials and tribulations that I've gone through. Like, I'm not a perfect person, but I use modeling as a light to kind of have a spotlight on you and be like, all right, a million words can be shown just through this picture. And I want to be a light to other people to show like you can have a soft heart, but like thick, confident skin.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Granted, it always depends on like what the image is meant to be capturing.
Right.
I always ask designers or photographers or videographers, like, what are you trying to sell? What are you trying to get across?
Right.
And I'll get into that mindset and be like, all right, eyes, like, let's do this.
Yes.
You know, you're gonna have a bunch of eyes on you, but let's try and get the art shown from somebody else's perspective through you, and be that light and that vessel and that spotlight to portray.
100%. I think nonverbal communication is one of the most underrated forms of communication. It's like how you carry yourself, your posture, you know, how you walk into a room and everybody's just like, yo, who is this?
Yeah.
You know?
It's always based off impressions.
Exactly.
Like, people remember you the first impression that they have of you.
Yeah, and it's usually not verbal.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much judging that can go on in this industry, or even in an interview or a job, or as you said, walking into a room. People will already, based off what they see, interpret your identity in their eyes, and how they're going to approach you and how they're going to talk about you. based off that first interaction. And with modeling, we don't have really a choice to kind of have that verbal
Right.
communication and be like, well, I'm this type of person. This is what I believe. If you start already talking about what you think and what your opinion is,
Yeah.
or what you believe, and people are going to carry that no matter what you say,
Exactly.
So you got to have like an independent, strong, but also like I believe a kind and loving presence.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of people are gonna want to work with you or enjoy your company.
Right.
And it's just like transactional at that point, and I want it to be genuine.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to backtrack a bit. You mentioned kind of like, trials and tribulations in your life, which we all go through.
Oh, of course.
But what's something that you struggle with that kind of sticks out to you that's kind of helped shape you to who you are today and where you're at in your career right now?
I would definitely say I've dealt with like a lot of loss, as much as a lot of people have. And sometimes it was like back to back to back, where I couldn't get a break. I was just like,
Right.
God, when is it gonna be peaceful?
Right.
And when can I be the most happy? And with those trials, like there was one time where like my dog got hit by a car, and then
Damn.
my grandpa died like right after. And then, my parents separated, and then I had a heart attack. And at that point I was like, there's so many things being taken from me that I love the most in this world, and I'm feeling the most lonely at this point. And I was pushed in a really dark hole that, I could say like modeling helped me get out of, because it allowed for a spotlight to kind of be put on me and have this smile as
Right.
if everything was okay. But my faith definitely grounded me and gave me like a firm foundation to kind of not put my identity into other things,
Right.
but into him, or into something that is for me and not against me. And when losing all these things and having that heart attack, I was put in a place where I just saw the light, and I was like, the one thing I heard the most when I was like reaching for, you want to give up so bad.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
like, nothing good is coming out of this. There's no point. Like he said to me, he was like, and when I say he, I mean like Jesus and
Right.
that light of God, like just an abundance of good, whether that's the universe, a purpose, a person, like whatever anybody wants to believe. I'm not a judgmental person here.
Yeah.
It's what I've grounded myself in.
Right.
He was like, I'm not done with you yet. I have a purpose for you, and I have a plan for you. So when you feel like so much is being taken from you, you need to remember that there is a purpose for your life. And even if it's just a quick interaction of being genuine with someone, or sharing your story with someone, or acknowledging their hard work,
Right.
can change their lives. And your purpose was just to be in that room for that one person, when you went for a different reason.
Right.
Essentially, like just a casting.
Yeah.
There's so many people I've met where they're like, Skyler, like let's reconnect, or this happened to me, like all this kind of stuff, when I was giving, like we have these genuine conversations. But yeah, it's about realizing that you have a purpose and there is a plan for you.
Right.
Again, my faith has kept me grounded to take off my crown, put on my apron, have that humility,
Right.
and walk with grace, but also to give other people grace. Again, you never know what's going on in someone else's life and what they're dealing with every single day, what trials and tribulations are trying to set them back. But just your presence and your story can help somebody, like at least push through the day.
Yeah.
Or have in the back of their mind, I think the Holy Spirit puts into their mind, like, hey, remember this place you were in, look at you now.
Right.
And maybe I took you out of that place because you're planting a seed
Yeah.
that is in somebody else's spirit, in someone else's drive, and their encouragement, when you're meant to be over here.
Right.
It's all about planting little seeds everywhere. Like, you're not meant to be weird or anything, but you can help other people grow through your trials and your stories if you just push through them, but to also have that discernment.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I love that you wear your faith so heavily on your sleeve,
Mm-hmm.
and that you are a big believer, and that you do have a purpose because you do. And I'm sorry that you went through all the things that you did, but
Oh, don't be
obviously,
sorry. It made me who I am now.
exactly, it shapes you into who you are, and that's beautiful. And so, being in an industry where you're constantly judged, all the time, both consciously and subconsciously, by people, designers, strangers, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of your faith, how else do you kind of help kind of control your mental health and cater to your needs when you may not be feeling your best?
Um, and that's not an easy question to kind of just have like an answer to, you know. Everybody struggles with their mental health in so many different ways, especially when, again, we live in such a world where it's so opinionated or we
Right.
focus on only negativity or judging or comparison. Things to keep me kind of going with my mental health is my faith. Like I crack open that book, I crack open the Bible, and it's a lot more harder said than done,
Yeah, yeah.
to do and to get into that consistency. But having that reminder that like it's an instruction book on what you can do to feed your spirit, feed your soul. If you
Right.
can't do that on your own, get into a community
Yeah.
that is going to uplift you and see you for who you are and accept you for who you are, because when it gets dark, it's really hard to pull yourself up out of that hole.
Yeah.
It's really easy to be in solitude, and solidarity is very, very addicting.
Right.
Lock yourself in a room, put on Netflix, like start looking at TikTok, doom scrolling, like all that.
Right.
And a lot of people do that nowadays. But with that, you got to be feeding your spirit with, and your heart with good, good things for your soul. And I've stopped listening to secular music. I think what you listen to is all frequency.
Right.
It's what you're feeding your ears with, what you're feeding your heart with. That's how you're going to act. Like if you're listening to, like there was one point where I was just listening to rap all the time,
Right.
listening to rap, hip hop, and then we see what that kind of music is about now. It's not even meant to be encouraging or focus on like, the soul that we
Yeah,
need.
yeah.
It's talking about some heavy, crazy things or doing things to other people that is not exemplary or kind of
Right.
very influential to younger people.
Right.
And I stopped listening to secular music and started getting into like Christian rap or,
Christian rap goes hard.
it's on the come up,
Yeah.
guys. Like, try it out.
Yes.
That kind of that changed a lot of things for me. So like listening to good music, changing up your music, changing up what you're looking at, get into the gym, get your oxygen flowing through your body. If you're stable you know in the same consistent environment, or what's the best word to describe it, kind of like just the same thing every single day, you're not feeding
Right.
yourself. You're just kind of, if you're going to be staying in the
Like if
same
you're just on the
spot.
hamster wheel and you're
Yeah,
just going
exactly.
like this.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
crazy roller coaster, like
Yeah.
nothing is going to change. You're going to get bored. You're not going to rise.
Right.
You're not going to rise to a point where you can see a different outlook on life or feed your spirit or a different perspective. You're going to stay in one perspective, and your mental health is your mind is so powerful. Like
Yes.
whatever you convince your mind of, your body's going to follow with. And so, yeah, just always working on not staying in a solid place. Like
Right.
consistently try and go up and go up and go up. Get out, meet people,
Yeah.
hang out with people. Don't feed that spirit of confinement.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know.
You want to push yourself to get outside your comfort zone and
Yeah.
do things you haven't done before.
You have a light,
Right.
and the darkness wants to consume it a
Yeah.
lot of the time, but that light will always be too bright for the darkness to touch. And
Right.
so
So, when was the last time you would say you pushed yourself outside your comfort zone? Like you did something that was super uncomfortable for you, but you're happy that you did it, and maybe it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be.
let's see here.
And it could be like the smallest little thing. Doesn't gotta be any like grand gesture or something. It could be.
I don't know. I think going to like there's one casting one time. It was just kind of like, oh, we need models, like let's see her walk, like that kind of thing. And I had a lot to do, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna invest in myself this one time. And I essentially went to this casting, and next thing you know, I got booked like for the whole week.
Oh wow.
And that fear of kind of just like, no, like I don't have the time, or
Right.
I don't think anybody's going to pick me up. I'm making these plans already against myself.
Right.
Once I finally stepped out of that zone and pushed past my comfortability, because you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable
Right.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I was booked that whole week, like for a fashion show. And it was super exciting. That led to me meeting designers and them just being like, we like your look so much. We want you to come out to New York. And I flew out to New York with them. And I walked in New York Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And I would have never thought I was going to be there.
Yeah, you killed it. I remember seeing
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And it was super cool because I got to meet so many new people, but also be in an environment where some people are so used to this that they're already beaten up on themselves. Like you're not worth it. You don't have the time to do this. Like
Yeah.
you never know what can come out of it. So I guess that was kind of an example that came to the top of my
Yeah.
mind.
No, I like it. I like it. And it could even be something like even within the confines of what you typically do. Like, yeah, I go to a bunch of shoots and a bunch of, auditions. But sometimes it's not always the most comfortable thing. And,
Exactly.
and then we make up these stories in our head and then you go there and it's like, okay, wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Which usually it never is.
Yeah. And half the time you don't know anybody there, but me seeing that I knew a couple of models there,
Yeah.
or even a designer, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this isn't as scary as I kind of hyped it up to be.
Right.
And now I feel more confident because it's like, okay, I've already been in a room with these kind of people, or people that I'm comfortable with,
Right.
There's always like something that's going to tether your fear down.
Yeah.
And like bind it and break that chain off of you from like pushing past those boundaries.
Yeah. Okay. So, not everything stays consistent, not everything's constant, Things do slow down from
Yeah.
time to time and
Of course.
sometimes the momentum's gone or it's like, crawling.
Yeah.
So when you find that in those situations where things are kind of like maybe not going as fast as you would like it to go, or kind of the momentum of where you're at is just kind of slowing down or fading away, how do you kind of like maintain, positivity and maintain like your strive to, keep going and kind of build that back up?
That happens a lot. I'm glad that you bring that up. That happens a lot, especially in this industry.
Yep.
And when you're with like an agency versus just kind of a freelance model. Well, either way, you're freelance, like in this industry. It's all based off of other people's times or last minute things pulling together. It's not consistent.
Right.
Unless you just have met the right people. And
Yeah.
I think networking with people helps that a lot. I would say the thing that kind of has helped me realize with the slow down time and the inconsistent work is that thought of like, okay, now's the time when you can really work on yourself. Again, you can't push yourself to limits if you don't have confidence in yourself.
Right.
Don't put your worth into other people's hands because they're not going to do anything for you other than kind of like push you to be that person.
Right.
Or convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
It depends on where your mind's at. But in those times I stay, working on myself, working on my mental health, working on my faith, working on, okay, what can I do in the community? How can I not give sparingly, but give in excess? Because what you give in excess, you'll gain in excess. What you give sparingly, you'll receive sparingly.
I like it.
So always having that perspective of it's okay to not be in a place where you're consistently getting booked all the time or your worth is being noticed all the time.
Right.
But more of like, hey, what are you doing with yourself? Are you working on your body? Are you working on your mind? Are you working on your look?
Yeah.
Like, are you working on your networking?
Right.
You know, like no one's gonna pick you up if you're like staying in your room waiting by the phone, like for somebody to call you, like, hey, I want to use you. Like, how are you going out into the community and making your worth known to other people, why they should have you around or hire you or have you a part of a project? Like, you need to realize like your identity and who you are as a person and your character and your personality is contagious
Right.
to other people.
Yeah.
And if you're containing that, what are they going to pull from you? You know, how are they going to gain something from
Yeah,
it? You know?
exactly. I'm happy that you mentioned like working on yourself in those periods of time, because everybody wants to be like, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you notice sometimes, like, at least when I'm in go, go, go all the time, like you realize like, all right, I'm losing sleep, or I'm not, being healthy enough, or,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like having all the energy sucked out of me, and I'm like spreading myself too thin, and then I can't be my best self for when I have to do these important things.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to like in those down times to like really focus on yourself. If you need to like chill and be D&D and sleep, do that, If
Yeah.
you need to get back on your workout routine, do that.
Exactly. Because when that moment comes, are you ready?
Yeah.
Like that's the real question. Are you ready when that moment finally arises and that door opens? Because that moment, especially in this industry, can be gone real quick.
Yeah.
Or be given to somebody else who is ready. You know, you
Right.
always need to stay ready for that call of like, hey, are you available Tuesday? Hey, are you available tomorrow?
Yep.
Hey, can you come in for a fitting for this luxury brand?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. Are you ready for the moment when a door opens up, when you know hundreds of other people are lined up ready to have that same spot as you
Yep.
and are working 10 times harder, if not less, if not more. But you also, again, need to have grace with yourself in those times to
Yeah.
have peace with that, that slowed down moment. Maybe it's like, hey, you have a peaceful, graceful like time
Right.
to regain your mental health, get it back in check, like one with yourself. Maybe you're pouring yourself into other idols, other things, other addictions,
Yeah.
and those are starting to pull away from your light
Yeah.
and who you are as a person. That when that moment arises, you've given it to so many other things or other people that you're just drained and you're not ready. And then you kind of dig yourself your own hole, you
Yeah.
know? It's easier said than done.
Yeah. As is a lot of things.
But you gotta, the work you put into yourself reflects like what is valuable,
Right.
you know?
So before the magazines, before the photo shoots, before the features, the runways, New York Fashion Week, Denver
Yeah.
Fashion Week, before all that, what would you tell your younger self about your life and your journey before you even started all this? If you were to talk to that little girl today.
I would say just have thick skin, but a soft heart. You know, that's really it. Like just keep pushing. Keep pushing. Know that you have a purpose and a plan set before you. Don't let the setbacks and don't let the trials and tribulations take you away from what God has planned for you,
Right.
you know, and that you are doing so much more than you could have ever thought just by being yourself.
Right.
Be yourself. Like that's the one thing that I would really, really say to myself.
Yes.
Be yourself, have peace, walk with grace, and the rest will follow.
Yes.
You know, like one thing that I was kind of learning at church the other day was essentially how, you know, we are restrained and chained by our fears and the traumas that have happened to us and the problems that have happened to us.
Right.
But you need to uncover those things, address them with yourself, if not another person who can help you, you know, uncover those things.
Right.
But cut off those roots and those veins that are draining the life out of your garden, out of your flower.
Yeah.
You know, it's metaphorical. It could be, you know, but I like to look at us as like flowers in a garden. You know, we're all beautiful. We all are unique in our own purpose. But again, are you feeding yourself with the right water? Are you feeding yourself in the right soil, the right environment?
Right.
It's okay to take yourself out of those environments, but you have to recognize like, hey, there are things draining you. There are things like killing you. There are things that are taking away from what you're meant to grow into.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know, you got to take those steps first to recognize and have that discernment of like, all right, maybe I need to replant myself in a different environment.
Yeah, and sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
You know.
with things that are going to feed my flower, feed my soul, feed my spirit, feed my mental health,
Right.
for the betterment of not just myself but everybody.
100%.
You know,
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in, comparison's the thief of joy, as they say.
absolutely.
And we live in this crazy digital age where there's social media and there's all these platforms,
Oh
and
yeah,
people are just like, obviously people post all the great and positive things, which is great, but people see that and, they feel like they're not good enough or they're behind or whatever. So what would you say to people in general who are either kind of stuck where they're at right now or just feel like they're behind in their own lives right now? What would you say?
I would say like if you're miserable or you're drained every single day, like you need something's you're feeding something that's not for you,
Yeah.
you know, and you need to separate yourself. You need to take that first step of recognizing like, what am I pouring myself into that's actually taking away every my happiness? What's kind of hurting me as a person and my outlook on life? Like, hurt people, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're hurt or if you're struggling every single day, pour yourself into something that is going to pour back in abundance. Again, for me, it was my faith. I try to recommend that to everybody. Like, hey, there's a creator that, made you and created you to look the way you are, be the way you are, the personality you have.
Right.
And if he has a plan for you, why are you putting your worth into other things or other people that are just draining you? It's not for you. And granted, it could be very controversial, but I'm very proud in my faith because I knew when I was in that dark place, I was in the constant crazy train cycle
Yeah.
of just like nothing's getting better, like I'm not getting work, or I just am around negative people. I'm, pouring myself into substances that are just, nice temporarily, but his love for your life and the purpose over you isn't temporary, it's eternal.
Right.
And if not eternal, it's meant to benefit you, and you have a choice. It's not forced upon you. If it is, you're in the wrong environment, you're in the wrong place, like you're around the wrong people.
Right.
Find it from other people. And I hate that it kind of, deters other people from that perspective, but just because of their interactions with it. But it's really something that, you know, will feed your spirit and feed your heart and give you a new perspective on things. We have blinders on our eyes every single day,
Right.
especially with the world we live in or the things we hear or the news we hear. But again, good is perceived as evil and evil is perceived as good. And I hate that for everybody.
Right.
We shouldn't be living in a world like that. We should be helping other people, but also taking those steps of like working on yourself with like, okay, what is going to feed my heart for the best? That is going to pour back into me in abundance
Right.
later on, whether you manifested it, whether you pray for it, whether you ask for it. What you ask for, you will receive.
Right.
So, and your tongue is a double-edged sword, so if you speak life over yourself and other people, that's what's going to come. But if you speak death or separation or anger or negativity,
Right.
don't be surprised when that's coming back at you.
Yeah. 100%.
And so having that change of perspective of like what you speak over your life will be reality.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. And people have to realize that they are in full control of that.
Absolutely.
Like what they put out and what comes back, and what they, like you said, where they plant their flowers at in their garden, and they may have to switch to a different garden, and like, what you listen to or what you allow, people to say that affects you or doesn't, always easier said than done, but you got to remember that we do have control over ourselves and what we allow into us and what we release.
Absolutely.
And I think that's powerful that you kind of hit on that, and just being in good environments both within yourself and physically out there in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. We have we got a big deceiver in this world, and with this industry, it's very deceiving too.
Yeah.
You know, like you just see what people want you to see,
Right.
and I think just in general nowadays. But you have to realize like there is a deceiver and there is a creator.
Yes.
And whether you're in that position of creating your future, whether you realize like something else has a plan and a story written for you and is actively written for you. Like I know an author who knows my story and how
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Right.
You gotta realize there's also another force that is always going to be against you.
Yeah.
Whether that's other people, whether that's spiritually, whether that's on a different frequency. Like there's always something out to steal your joy.
Right.
There's always something to deceive you or deter you from your path that you're meant to go down. And if you keep looking back, like you're going to be in that constant cycle of listening to that noise rather than being in that peace.
Right.
And moving forward with grace and like things coming to you and receiving that, you know, joyously and realizing like those setbacks are something that is meant for a greater purpose and you can have more joy. Because when something that happens against you or somebody says something or speaks something against you, you feel a lot better when you're like, look, I proved my point. I got to a place that you said that I can't be,
Right.
but it's just words, right?
Right.
And so, and you have a confidence in yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, not walk with the humility, not that pride.
Yeah, exactly. And people that have words, you know, they're usually not doing much, you know.
Yeah.
Other people who are also trying to level up and progress, they're not the ones talking. They're the ones uplifting and supporting
Yeah.
and encouraging.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that goes once again, you know, your community and the energy and the vibes they put out.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to ask, with, you know, we call it deception and things like that. And you don't have to say any names. You don't have to say any brand names or designers or whatever. But do you have any like crazy like horror stories of any people that you've worked with in the past along your journey that
You know, actually, yeah, and this kind of like goes with something you asked me earlier where it was like what was something that was an opportunity given to you but eventually ended up leading to something better? Well, I guess passing up essentially like saying no to,
Yeah.
because in this industry that's a big misconception is like we kind of sell our images and our souls to gain something from it. You know, you have a choice to say no.
Right.
Right? You have the choice to say no, and people are willing to collaborate with you, you know, if they're telling you like what you got to do to get this, like maybe it's not for you.
Right.
There was this one time, and this is kind of touching base on your question. There was this one girl who I knew that we looked very similar. We looked very, very similar, kind of like sisters.
Oh wow.
I love her very, very much. And we were able to walk in New York Fashion Week the week after. So this is like one of those designer brands. And they put me in like 3 different looks for Denver Fashion Week. And there was one other outfit. I was like, all right, I'm on a roll. Like, I'm totally down to put me in another outfit if you guys need. And one of the designers was like, Skyler, I have a dress for you. And I was like, great. Like, I'm totally down to wear it.
Right.
Then as soon as the time comes, I was like, hey, I'm ready, like, for an outfit change. Like, do you have that dress? She was like, you gave me attitude and you said you didn't want to wear it and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't remember having this conversation with you at all. Like, I'm available to whatever you need. But mind you, I always pray over my image and what's being represented.
Right.
And little did I know it was my faith being questioned. And that was something that God kind of pushed me away from.
Right.
But she was like, no, like, I'm not putting you in this outfit. I already have another model. No, I was kind of like butthurt for a second because I'm like, I'm on a roll. Like, I'm out on the runway as many times as I need to be. I'm getting lots of pictures, like a lot of notoriety. But I'm grateful because little did I know it was an outfit that went against my beliefs.
Okay.
And it was glamorizing something that I would have definitely said no to. But I'm grateful because it was actually the other model. She came to me. She was like, oh, like, this designer freaked out on me because I said no. Like she's the same exact way. Her faith, you know, we believe in
Right.
God and everything. But I said no because it went against my beliefs. But a different mirrored image of me as a person too
Yeah.
was addressed with that kind of controversial situation,
Right.
but I didn't have to deal with it, you know? And I'm so grateful that she pushed through it the way she did, but I was able to avoid putting my identity and my faith and my beliefs on
Right.
the line for an outfit that doesn't one even show my face,
Yeah.
but was glamorizing, you know?
Right.
So I'm grateful for moments like that, you know?
Yeah. It always works out how it's supposed to, you know?
Exactly.
So, well, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And I have a few final questions for you. You know, I want to be respectful of your time. But before those final questions, I want to acknowledge you for a second and acknowledge you for being the strong, God-fearing woman that you are, for
Thank
leading
you.
by faith and not by sight, and for pushing the envelope and pushing your own boundaries and helping encourage, you know, other people, both men and women, to really like pursue their dreams, especially in this industry where it can be pretty heavy and where people really internalize a lot of things and feel judged, not good enough. And I'm happy that you were one of the people that are truly leading the way in this industry and making it in a better light than it may seem to others. And, you know, I hope that you continue to push yourself and just be the leader that, you know, God has set you out to be. So I'm really proud of you for that. So.
Okay, you're making me cry. I love you, brother.
Yeah. I love you too, girl. So I got two final questions for you. So one, I didn't send you this one, but it's called The Three Truths. So pretend you live in a world, you do everything you want. You can live to 120 years old, however long you want. You know, you're on the cover of Vogue magazine, you're on the cover of Maybelline, you know, you're New York Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, you know, all the tabloids, all the designers want you. Like, you do everything you want. You write books, novels, you know, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you get to take none of that with you. You know, we can't go back and look at your shows. We can't go back and read the magazines. You know, it all gets wiped away. And on your last day, for as long as you want to live, you are left with a piece of paper and you have to write out three truths to what you believe to be true in life that you get to leave for eternity. So what would be your three truths?
My three truths would be that. That's a really, you put me on the spot with that one. Well, number one, I definitely walked proud in my faith. That would definitely be my first one. And Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
Yes.
That one I'm very, very proud of and will go up to live by no matter what. Number two, I did what I needed to bring people closer to that light. You know, I did what I could with as much as that I had. And third was and is that I don't know. Oh my gosh. That I made sure that other people were seen for their hearts and not what they do.
Oh, I love that. Three truths. All right. And then the final question is, what does living mean to you in this season of life right now?
Living to me in this season of my life would be that I walk with grace every single day, but also work to fulfill a purpose in living the best in my life that I could be, being the best that I could be, and loving others the most that I can. You know,
Yes.
being the best version of yourself, even when things don't want to, you know, work for you, but
Right.
living to your fullest potential of, you know, making the most out of every single day, every single minute you wake up, because we don't have some people don't have that luxury to wake up the way we do every single day
Right.
or individually, but to wake up every day with humility on our hearts, but also a knowing that there's a plan and a purpose for the day.
Yeah.
And our setbacks are meant to be a story, and our trials and tribulations are meant to empower and help other people and to, help other people, help other
Yes.
people realize their potentials, and their
Right.
worth is not defined by other people and their noise.
I love it. I appreciate it. Everybody, Skyler Madison, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.